Load up Minecraft. Wait. Wrong video. Load up Terraria, create a new character, and a new world. Welcome to the 2D plane which you're going to call your home for the next few years. Why a few years? Because Terraria contains about as much content as I contain hate for the world, ranging from weapons to monsters, bosses, accessories, gameplay mechanics, and everything else in between. But of course, like every other survival game, start by breaking down sweet Mother Nature's creations with your axe and building yourself a place to stay for the night. You can also make a crafting table. While Terraria provides you with the basic starting tools, it is in your best interest to replace them all immediately, as their effectiveness is equivalent to using YouTube as an excuse not to find a real job.
What? Mum, it's gonna take off, I swear! Yes, I would like a meal deal.
When you generate a new world, ores are often rotated randomly, meaning that instead of finding iron, you might find lead instead. What is the point of this, you might be asking? It's likely that the developers did this to increase the game's depth and variety. Despite this, mining lead and iron is basically the same experience, just with different colours. Anyway, you can find lead and iron by walking along the surface, where there is also a chance to find small tunnels which contain chests inside. Who put these chests here? Hopefully it's not a fellow survivor, as you've just robbed all their belongings. As you've probably noticed, there's another character wandering around. This is the guide, and he will give you helpful tips on how to play the game. However, you'll probably end up using him in a different way later. When building your house, you can place a chair and table in different rooms, which will allow various NPCs to move in, none of which pay rent or contribute to the Wi-Fi costs or anything.
Freeloading
Find yourself a cave. While down there, you can find precious gemstones and stronger ores. Collecting materials is great and all, but it would be nice to actually do something with them. Make a furnace. Now you can melt down all that precious ore into metal bars. Despite having a crafting table, you don't actually use it to do much crafting, so make an anvil. Now you can turn all that metal into some new tools. It's time to test out your fancy new pickaxe. Make a elevator. What's a elevator? Well, the elevator is a big hole stretching all the way down to the center of the earth. It's a good job you made that new pickaxe, as the Terraria developers decided to make the journey to the center of the earth realistic to life, as it takes 40 years to get there. On the way down, you may find numerous different caves, monsters, and traps, all designed to make you hate yourself, as you slowly realize that maybe going down into a cave with sentient slimes and the living dead probably isn't what Darwin had in mind when he talked about survival of the fittest. There are certain structures that can be found inside caves that contain golden chests. Inside these chests, there are various accessories that grant you abilities and buffs. You can also use the gemstones like the sapphire to make a grappling hook. Not sure how mashing 10 shiny rocks together allows you to become Spider-Man, but now you can traverse caves with relative ease. While mining, you find a chest with an eye that's looking kinda sus. It's hard to see the eye properly in the dark, so let's go to the surface and get a better look using the moonlight. Well, that didn't go well. That was the Eye of Cthulhu and is the first boss of this game. At the moment, you're not quite ready to fight it, so go back to the mines and collect some gold. Gold is currently the strongest material you can collect and will be helpful for creating some protective armor to deal with the boss. While it is possible to use the suspicious looking eye to summon the boss, sometimes the game itself thinks you're progressing too slow and initiates the trial by fire function. This means summoning the boss randomly one night while you're out exploring, and as you scramble to get ready, the fight begins and you're left wondering where it all went wrong. Lucky for you, you've made yourself some gold armor, which is apparently like kryptonite to the Eye of Cthulhu, as being attacked by wearing it feels like small love taps from a 3-month-old puppy. Typically, the Terraria bosses have two forms, one being unlocked when the boss reaches half the HP. In this case, the Eye of Cthulhu becomes sort of a mouth of Cthulhu, growing teeth and trying to bite your arms off. When you kill the Eye of Cthulhu, you receive Demonite ore, which is the next tier above gold. For some reason, you can't make any armor out of it yet, so instead let's go explore the surface a bit more. There are multiple biomes on the surface, which often have unique creatures. This biome is the Corruption, and as the name suggests, it's not exactly the nicest place, but look, there's a cave in there. Perhaps you'll find some unique materials that'll help you in your quest to beat the game. These glowing orbs look somewhat important, but your gold pickaxe isn't strong enough to break through the blocks. Perhaps using a bomb might work. Well, the bombs worked, but you destroyed the glowing orb in the process. From the glowing orb, you can get special items like the musket and the shadow orb. Despite you feeling chills and hearing screams all around you, I'm sure there's nothing bad that can come from destroying these. This is the Eater of Worlds. Despite its name, the fact that you're still able to walk around means it hasn't done a very good job and is relatively easy to kill. Upon killing the Eater of Worlds, you've received Demonite, but also some Shadow Scales. The Shadow Scales are the missing ingredient in the next tier of armor and tools. At this point, there are multiple paths you can take. You can continue your big deep hole or go to the strange dungeon on the surface. For the sake of game progression, we're going to go back into the big hole. You can tell you're getting closer to your destination by the influx of lava pools and the veiny walls in the backdrop. Welcome to hell. Not many people would want to go here voluntarily, but here you are. On second thoughts, I think we should go to the dungeon. Upon arriving at the dungeon, you will see an old man who says you can't enter the temple until his curse has been lifted. But you don't have time to be helping the elderly, so run inside. What's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, fine. Help the old fart by killing Skeletron and head inside. Ungrateful doesn't even thank you afterwards. Inside the dungeon, there are chests which contain special items. A notable item is the Shadow Key, which can be used to unlock chests in the underworld. Besides that and a few other items, there's not much else to do here, so finally it's time to go to the underworld, which is considered the final frontier of Terraria Easy Mode. Using the Shadow Key, you can unlock the chests and acquire some pretty special items. For some reason, you can find flying demons carrying around what appears to be a doll, which is strange considering they are literally living in hell, so dolls would be the last thing on your mind. Kill the demon just like any other creature. There's never usually any repercussions when you do something like this, is there? Well, that was gross. What you saw was the Wall of Flesh, and as the name suggests, it is a wall made of meat, hatred, and disgusting things, and it shoots lasers and spits out worms. It's gross. As is the case with many of the bosses, it's time to upgrade to the next tier of armor. While down in the underworld, you can find hellstone deposits. Unlike other ores, one of the Terraria developers decided that mining the ore with flaming bats and orange chocolate bunnies shooting fireballs at you wasn't hard enough, so the ore also produces lava when broken. Despite the hellstone producing lava, stick it in your pocket and take it back to the surface. While down in the underworld, you may find a moldy furnace called a hellstone forge. Apparently a regular furnace just isn't hot enough to melt hellstone into bars. So you must harness the souls of the damned, listening to their screams of pain and hatred as they are endlessly tortured for all eternity in the fiery pits of hell. At least you got some cool armor out of it. Congratulations, you've got the best set of armor easy mode has to offer, which means it's finally time to defeat the Wall of Flesh. How are you going to defeat such a powerful adversary, you ask? Well, up until this point, you faced giant eyes, the Eater of Worlds, killed countless skeletons and zombies. You've trekked through snow and fire and literally gone to hell and back. All of these combined skills allow you to do something amazing. Upon defeating the Wall of Flesh, the game will enter hard mode, also known as we will make you hate yourself mode, as even the strongest armor you've made up until this point works about as well for protection as a condom dropped into a pile of needles. So naturally it makes sense to get better armor. When the Wall of Flesh was defeated, it dropped an item called the Pwn Hammer, and this can be used to destroy altars in the corruption, allowing for new ores to spawn. You've been to the corruption before, so surely it shouldn't be that difficult. However, upon arriving, you realize that all of the monsters have taken some performance enhancing drugs and snap you in half with relative ease. But if you do manage to break some of the altars, you will gain access to 3 new tiers of ores, which can then be found underground like any other. Much like the other ores, there are alternatives, with the first tier being either cobalt or palladium. Those unlucky enough to receive palladium will realize that the Terraria developers hate colorblind people and decided to make palladium as identical to copper as Superman is to Clark Kent. You'll find yourself searching for hours on end mining the worst ore in the game in hopes of finding some palladium. Collect just enough palladium to make a pickaxe, which will allow you to collect mithril and then use the mithril to collect titanium. Make yourself some of that fancy titanium armor and tools. You're probably thinking that you're protected against everything now, however you'll soon realize it's a lie. Up until this point you've been using mostly melee based attacks, however using a combination of different attacks can be helpful for defeating bosses. The first of which will be the Destroyer. You can tell the Terraria developers got lazy around this point of game development, as the bosses are just reskins of their original counterparts with the addition of some lasers. Collect some fallen stars, these are helpful for getting some extra mana, something you probably should have done earlier. Kill some angry Nimbus to require the Nimbus Rod. Much like a human rod, it does a great job at fucking things, and in this case that will be the Destroyer. The Destroyer will drop some notable items like Souls of Might and Hallowed Bars. Killing it multiple times will give you enough Hallowed Bars to make some fancy Hallowed Armor and Excalibur. Now take down the other mechanical bosses by chugging potions and jumping around like a madman, and collect Souls of Fright from Skeletron Prime and Souls of Sight from the twins. It's funny, 2 giant eyes and they never saw the ass beating coming. You can use the souls collected from the 3 mechanical bosses along with the hallowed bars to make the next tier of pickaxe called the Pickaxe. Axe. As the name suggests, it's both a pickaxe and an axe. Upon defeating the mechanical boss, you'll receive a message saying the jungle is getting restless. If that isn't a whisper from the developers telling you to go to the jungle and do stuff, then I don't know what is. Inside the jungle, you can find plenty of useful items now, such as life fruit, which give you extra health on top of your original life crystals, and chlorophyte, which can be mined with your newly fashioned pickaxe. Axe. You may also find these pink bulbs which are used to summon the next boss. However, this probably isn't a good idea until you've made some new armor with the chlorophyte. You can also combine the chlorophyte bars with Excalibur to make true Excalibur. Apparently Excalibur's definition of truth is being better at stabbing things because the only difference is increased damage. Make some chlorophyte armor. The armor rating is only 1 higher than the hallowed armor, however you'll get a crystal above your head that shoots leaves at anything that wants to come near you. Finally, it's time to summon the next boss. This boss is considered to be a protector of the jungle, however it does a terrible job since you can run through the jungle destroying plants and killing animals, but this boss only seems to get angry when you destroy the pink bulbs we saw earlier. Once the bulb is destroyed, Plantera will spawn and chase you around like a small child asking to play games on your phone. This boss is fairly simple to defeat with the addition of new armor and more health. Once defeated, it will drop a temple key. It's likely while exploring the jungle you will come across a temple-like structure, and of course you need to go inside. Okay, maybe we should get some better items before going in there. Create a platform above your base, fill it with mud blocks and plant some glowing mushroom seeds. Congratulations, you've now got a glowing mushroom biome on the surface, and if you build a house on it, this guy moves it. How are you supposed to know this without googling it? That's a good question, and I'm still waiting for an answer. This is a truffle, and he can sell you a machine that turns chlorophyte into shroomite bars. Using this we can make mini nukes, apparently. Okay. Also, during your short time in the temple, you collected these solar tablet fragments. Using this to make a solar tablet, you can summon a solar eclipse. Kill Mothrons that spawn during the solar eclipse to get the Broken Hero sword. You can combine this with True Excalibur and True Knight's Edge to make the Terrorblade, which is by far a much stronger sword. With that, it's finally time to go back to the temple. At the end of the temple, you'll find a suspicious altar, which allows you to use one of those lizard power cells on it. Obviously, you do this, as it's never gone wrong in the past. That is, or was, the Golem, the next boss after Plantera, and much like every other boss, you'll have to think of a well thought out strategy to defeat such a formidable enemy. Congratulations, you got the pick saw and some beetle husks. The beetle husk can be used to turn turtle armor into beetle armor, which is much stronger than the chlorophyte armor you've been running so far. Yes, you need stronger armor because there's still a lot more to do. Using the pick saw, you can pick up the altar used to spawn the golem and take it back home with you, much to the dismay of your tenants who are getting sick of giant horrible creatures being spawned on their front doorstep. We're slowly reaching the endgame, so now will probably be a good time to upgrade your terrible accessories. Much better. At this point in the game, it's possible to combine certain accessories together to get the value of both while using only one accessory slot. If you haven't already noticed, there are several hooded men having a rave outside the dungeon. Kill them and spawn the lunatic cultist. This fight should be fairly simple, however, once defeated, you'll find that 4 alien pillars have spawned across the world, all of which summon monsters that have no issue with taking your fancy accessories and shoving them straight up your ass. In order to destroy the pillar, you must kill a certain amount of creatures in the biome first to remove the protective barrier surrounding it. For some reason, despite your powerful armor and accessories, the game seems to ignore all of it and allows you to return to your original state of getting f***ed by everything, so this can take a while. After destroying each pillar, you'll be given fragments relative to the pillar you just destroyed. Each type of fragment is used to make weapons for certain classes, and since we've mostly been using melee this entire time, use the fragments to craft a daybreak and a solar eruption. Finally, after destroying the pillars, impending doom approaches. In case it hasn't been made clear, that means there's a boss on the way to kill you. Furthermore, this is the final boss of the game, so may cause some problems. This tentacle monster isn't from your favorite hentai, no, this is the moonlord, and he wants to kill you. Surprisingly enough, it is possible to overcome the power of space gods like this one with the simple tactic of chugging every possible potion you could ever own and throwing your newfound weapons at its face and eyes until it explodes into multiple pieces. Finally, your tenants living in your house can be at peace knowing that they won't be in bed one night listening to a fight between you and the horrific beast you've summoned on your quest for greatness, as you finally beat Terraria.